Alright guys, time for another video. So let's talk about torque converters. So we did a pretty interesting test the other day. We did a torque converter swap on a car and saw what the difference in horsepower that the car made on the dyno was with a torque converter that was being completely blown through to a torque converter that would hold the power. So a torque converter is basically just a fluid coupling between the engine and the transmission. It converts the torque from the engine at a given speed to a different amount of torque at the transmission at a different speed. If you guys don't know what a torque converter is, it's this big round black thing that goes in between your engine and your transmission. But I'm sure most of you, if you're watching this, you probably know what a torque converter is. So the particular engine we're doing this test on is an LS engine, and the stock bottom end LS likes a particular torque converter. So I'm a fan of the JEGS XHD torque converters. The 60429 is the one that we've used on multiple builds, and it works really well. You want something that's going to couple around 55 to 6,000 RPMs, because if you lug the engine down too much, you're going to bend a rod and break stuff. So if you're shifting the gear and that torque converter pulls the engine down to like 4,000 RPMs, that's really bad. You're going to kick a rod, and nobody wants that. So the car that we did this test on, some of you might recognize it. It's the Nova that used to have the LSA supercharger on, and it had nitrous as an intercooler. So we tried the LSA supercharger for a while. It made pretty darn good horsepower, and the nitrous intercooler kind of worked. To be honest, it wasn't that substantial of cooling, and because of it, we weren't able to make the most power ever. So what we really need is just more compressor, in my opinion. In order to get the LSA superchargers to make horsepower, what people do is they spin them really fast, and the more you spin them, the less efficient they get. I mean, you're already like way off the compressor map. Even with a, in the stock application, they sized it such that the meat of your driving will be in the efficiency range of the supercharger, but at the high end you're already out. So if you want to make more horsepower than that, then you're even further out. So what we really needed was a bigger compressor. Now, a supercharger is ideal for like no prep racing, where you have to pedal the car and you want the power to come back very quickly. But superchargers are also very expensive. So a comparable, a larger unit, we're probably talking, between $5,000 and $10,000. So we decided to just take it off and go back to the tried and true. We picked up a set of these GT3582 turbochargers. They're $100 a piece on eBay, and made up manifolds, bought a eBay intercooler, and installed a Edelbrock Performer RPM, and we're hoping that we know that the smaller turbocharger, their smaller turbocharger might limit the amount of high-end power that we're going to be able to make, but they're going to light off super quick, and they light off super quick. Alright, so here's the setup on the Nova. It's a Turbo 400 transmission, Ford 9-inch with 364 gears, Megasquirt Gold Box, Gen 4 aluminum 6 liter, Edelbrock Performer RPM, as I mentioned before, with a Holley EFI elbow and a 102mm Chinese throttle body, a set of ported 823 or LS3 heads, unknown brand valve springs. They're dual valve springs with the tool steel retainers. A friend of ours basically gave them to us. Bronze bushing trunnion upgrade for the rocker arms, 3H chrome moly exhaust push rods, 5/16 intake push rods. The idea there is you need the heavier push rod on the exhaust because there's a lot of cylinder pressure when that exhaust valve is opening. It's a 625, 625, 232, 252, 116 plus 4 lobe separation cam, so it's got a decent amount of overlap, lots of exhaust duration, so it's pretty ideal for a max effort build. ARP head bolts, LS9 head gaskets, and stock bottom end. So we're definitely stock bottom end guys. So yeah, when you're considering a torque converter, that's the key to keeping a stock bottom end alive. You want to keep those RPMs up because it helps keep that thing alive. So the old torque converter is a unknown flea market purchase. We have no idea what brand or what stall it is, but that's what it is. There it is. You can see it right there. It's a 10-inch torque converter, and here's a clip of the car idling. I don't know, I just like the potato idle, as some people call it. And here is the pool with the old torque converter. Now you're going to notice that that pull was very high RPM almost instantly. So let me pull up the data log. So here's the data log from that pull. So you'll notice that it swings up to, it begins to couple around 6,900 RPMs. So we normally don't like to rev too much higher than 7,000 RPMs on a stock bottom end 6 liter. So I was definitely I was about ready to let off, but it it finally grabbed, and so I revved it out and revved it out to 7,000 and then shut it down. Relatively short pull. Around 17 pounds of boost, as you can see, and it netted a peak of 734 horsepower. So going back to my PowerPoint, we pretty much figured out that that torque converter was not going to work. So we've used this commonly available torque converter, like on my Fairmont, and it's held 936 horsepower and has stood up to lots of track abuse. So we ordered one of these. It's a JEGS XHD torque converter with part number is 555-60429. It's worked very well for us, so we ordered one up for the Nova, and here's the pool with that torque converter. pull up the data log for that. So you'll notice that it begins to couple around 6,000 RPMs, which is much more reasonable. And rev it out, and also just under 17 pounds of boost, yeah, depending on where you look. 17.1 pounds of boost, same boost as before. And then here is the dyno graph. So you'll notice that the old torque converter in red and the new torque converter in blue, and you'll notice that the new torque converter makes more power at every area in the rev range with a peak of 771. So 738 versus 771. It's getting more power to the wheels. Now this is why lockup torque converters make power. You know, they're getting more power to the wheels. Now, a tighter torque converter will make more horsepower, and but it may not be ideal for drag racing. But this is kind of the best of the all the worlds, in my opinion. So, just wanted to share those results with you guys. I thought you would appreciate them. Torque converters make a big difference, especially for a stock bottom end type build. So I'm going to cut it off there, and I hope you guys got some valuable information. Next video is going to be, we also did a turbine housing swap on the same combo. So we have the GT3582 turbos. They had 0.63 AR housings, and we bought a set of 1.06 AR housings and did the swap on the dyno and saw what the power gains from that were. Also monitored back pressure and saw what the differences were there. So I got another really interesting video for you coming up here very soon. So I'm gonna cut this off here, and hope to see you guys in the next one. All right, catch ya.